Well, basically I got the bubbler on the little HHO welder, which I'm going to use for breathing, and I'm going to actually lower down the electrolyte though, and because it'll bring down the hydrogen content to a safer level. I just got some mason jars here. I'm just going to use, this is actually a bubbler too. You can put alcohol or distilled water and you fill it up to about here, 2/3. That's one container. One thing I got to watch for is I got to let this shoe goo dry on here better, make a good seal. You can, there's a little connection that I have right up here. That's the bottom part. It's got a gasket. I had to buy that on eBay. You put a 3/8 hole in there with a gasket, and that's the outlet. Then the inlet, you can actually make a better connection with a threaded or with a gasket. I just have it pushed through a 1/4-inch hole. This hose is 1/8 inch ID diameter, 1/4-inch OD outside diameter, and I put shoe goo around here to seal it. It's because, you know, hydrogen is a very small molecule, so it's not like liquid. I just put it on there, so you gotta, I should probably not run this right now, let this stuff dry, because it actually wasn't bubbling down here that well because there was a slight leak up here. But once that all dries, that shoe goo dries, it's going to be solid. The mason jars, I got these gaskets, these silicone gaskets that go on the inside. You can see them in there, so they seal up good. There's distilled water in here, there's distilled water in here, so actually I do have a double bubbler. And for every bubbler scrubber you have, that does make it safer, because, you know, it limits where the explosion can go. I mean, it's got to go through two different things. It's got to go through this, then through that. So, and I heard that these are actually a wet cell inside. This is a dry cell. Dry cell meaning it's only made between the plates. If this one works out good, I might just not even bother with this one. I might just put this in the El Camino, run it in the engine. Because if this, see it stopped again? That's because this isn't sealed, see? I gotta let this dry. I gotta let this dry. But, you know, it will work. I mean, it'll have a perfect seal once, you know, you let this stuff set up for about 12 hours or something. It's not, that's not gonna leak at all. And the difference between this, you know, I'm not sure how, this is, I'm almost certain that this is the actual device that the George Wiseman device starts out as. I mean, it's not his final product. He adds a lot of safety features to it. He has, you can put this on it to make it for the welder. And I think he, you know, that's the carry handles he has. There's a device he puts on here with that makes the hydrogen, then it goes into a double bubbler system. He has a low-level warning light, a low-level warning alarm, and then the unit shuts off. Instead of just having an overpressure manual pressure valve up here, he's got, see, this needs to be sealed up better. I gotta let that dry. I just freaking put this together right 5 minutes before I did this video. He has, okay, then he has, besides this one pressure device, he's got another pressure device. And besides, if the unit goes over pressure, not only is it have a relief valve, it shuts off. So that's another safety feature. This is lit up. He has a frequency thing in here where you can add a frequency to the water, which I think is really good, because I'm very much aware of the frequencies and how much they can benefit health. This doesn't have that. He also has the timer, you know, you can set on 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, 60 minutes, infinite. And this thing, well, just like his, this one you can just run for like 8 hours. But he also has a thing where you can limit the production. That's really important. Limiting the production for your lung size is real important. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to limit the production by electrolyte. Because actually the less electrolyte you put in there, that'll limit the production. It'll still be good enough to get health benefits from it, and it's going to be kind of a guesstimate. Now that's a downfall to this, but you know, let me say this: I've had one of these under my engine of my Suzuki over there, the 4x4, and it's under a hot engine and a carburetor did backfire a bunch before when I was starting it because I have a manual choke on it. And if you lean it out too much, the carb backfires. I've never had an HHO explosion. I know this gas is highly explosive. I know it, and also if it gets under pressure, it goes up. The explosion capability goes up exponentially. You can just pressurize. If you pressurize this gas a lot, it'll blow up without even having a spark. That's how freaking sensitive this stuff is. But, you know, the only amount of gas I'm going to be taking is out of this little 1/8-inch diameter hose. I was taking the gas out of this thing. This thing, even though this is not safe, this is safer than this. I'll tell you that. The battery charger, and I was going to add a 50 amp 12 volt power supply to it with an amp gauge, which I have over there. I don't think I'm going to do that. This might be just good enough. So for not much more than 125 bucks, and you know, I'm going to get a device later if this really does improve my health. I could tell you one thing. One problem I've had for years. This is why I always use the elliptical machine, even back in 2006 and whatever. Actually, I went balls to the walls on the elliptical machine. January 2007, for the next 5 years, I was doing 3 hours of intense cardio, and my weight was way down. I dropped 87 pounds in 5 months, 62 pounds the first 2 months, 25 pounds the 3 months. From the first week of January to the first week of June 2007, I dropped 87 pounds, man. But I was a PT animal for many years, so things clicked in. But I seem to lack the energy as of around 2013, and I started getting out of shape. But when I started taking the colostrum, not the carbon C60, which is surprising, the colostrum, I got more energy. And you know why I think all that was? Because I don't have good hydrogen production in my body. I must have some, because you need it, it's vital. And maybe the bioflora that is the main bioflora that produces hydrogen, maybe that's wiped out. Maybe when I took the colostrum, maybe that helped bring it back. I don't know, because it's supposed to help correct your bioflora too, somewhat. I mean, it's supposed to help your digestive system and your leaky gut syndrome and give you hormones and all this other garbage. I don't know why, but my energy went way up. And actually, I've hardly been taking a colostrum now, and I still feel fine. I never felt any energy increase whatsoever from carbon C60, none. My eyesight did get a little bit better. That was the only thing I could say, and that took about a year for that to even get better, where I noticed it. Now, the reason the carbon C60 works, I think there's a couple reasons. One, it's like an antioxidant, scavenges bad things in your body, metals and things, but also it carries hydrogen inside the carbon C60 buckyball shaped molecule. So that's one reason it works, you know. And maybe since I didn't have much hydrogen to start with, you know, having like a carbon C60 transporter hydrogen store didn't do you much good. If you have some hydrogen, you have good hydrogen production in the first place, you add the carbon C60, you're maybe going to make a big difference. That's just kind of what I'm figuring what's going on. So when I did the colostrum, maybe that's what increased the hydrogen. But I noticed since I started doing this, my energy's even better. I can get away with 1 hour less sleep now, which is cool, because without actually feeling bad, without feeling tired. And to me, that's good. That's an efficiency thing. And I got this bubbler stone for this thing, so that's coming. That's just like a thing sticking in here. So you just bubble it twice as long or whatever. I actually have the stone for this thing too, but I can tell you right now, that stone it's kind of like blocks the output somewhat. So sometimes I use it without the stone. I don't know. You got to watch what stone you get. The micron, if the mesh on the stone that goes into for the bubbler is too small, you're going to limit your hydrogen production somewhat. And maybe you're not going to get as much hydrogen in the water anyway, even though it's got smaller bubbles. So you got to balance it out between, you know, big bubbles and not having too small of bubbles where it's restrictive and it's lowering the output of the hydrogen going into the water, or the HHO, and electrified plasma gas. Now, since this does actually have two bubblers on it, it's got one here, one here. Now, tell you the truth, say you're not going to breathe the gas with this, so you know that would be the dangerous part, more dangerous part. But you can put your mouth over this and breathe the gas coming right off of this. That's not dangerous. That's because a lot of it's dissipated. Like once it gets about that far away, a lot of it's dissipated. You're getting a low level of hydrogen there, but still a beneficial level. But see, this is still good for bubbling the bath water, bubbling drinking water, doing the topical applications and stuff. And I do have, and this thing has like a push-on connector. When you have this, so I got these off of eBay. It's an 1/8 inch barb, and you drill a 3/8 hole in here, and it's got a gasket. And put some shoe glue around here because I cracked the plastic a little bit. And there's a silicone gasket. You got to have a silicone gasket on these mason jars because they'll never seal tight enough. Here's a candle and nose thing right here. I got a bunch of them. I don't know if I'm going to use that or just stick the damn thing in my mouth or something. But to me, this might be the only thing I really need. I might just put this in the engine, the El Camino, and say screw it. I got a bunch more hose for this, so maybe that's what I'll do. I don't know. But overall, this is, and let me say, if this works out, like I'm going to say that problem with my middle toe on my right foot, it would bother me if I walked a ways. Like the end of the toe has got like a callus on it or something like that. It's like a sore spot. I don't know what the hell it is. It got there years ago. I know I had it in 2005, and that's why I started using the that's why one of the reasons I got out of running too. So when I went into the Planet Fitness, I started using an elliptical machine. I went really balls to the wall on it. 2007, I was using it 3 hours a day, and I was like slim for the next 5 years, and maybe 6, because even if you look into my early 2013 videos, you could see I was a lot lighter weight. And all of a sudden my energy levels started dropping, and that might be because maybe I was producing less hydrogen in my body due to something, I don't know. But the thing is, what was I going to say? Oh, that problem with my toe, like with the end of my toe, it would bother. So I would only use the elliptical machine if I was running or walking. It would be like ouch, you know. If I was, it wouldn't bother me like if I was just walking a couple miles. But once I did it past that, it'd be like, this hurts. And but on an elliptical machine, it doesn't bother me, you know, because you're not moving your foot around as much. You're just moving your legs and stuff, your body, your arms. So now I noticed already, it seems like that's going away already. And I've only been doing this since December 20th. And what is this, January 10th or something, or 9th? I don't know what it is. It's Friday. Wait a minute, it's the 10th. I think it's the 10th. No, wait a minute, it's the 9th. I think it's the 9th. It's the 9th. Yeah, let me backtrack. Yeah, something like that. So I've only been doing it, I don't know, a few weeks. That's not much. Not even a few weeks, right? Well, 11 plus, yeah, it's for 20 days, right? And I think the first few days I wasn't even doing it that much. And I haven't really been doing it to the extent that George Wiseman does it, because I think he said he was doing this several hours a day. The most I ever did in a day was 3 hours. Usually I'm getting a little over an hour. So far I did 10 minutes today, breathing it. There's my timer over there. So, yeah, you know, and I gotta guess, I don't think this is putting out a liter an hour right where I'm at here. This thing supposedly can put out 75 liters an hour. So what is that? At 1 1/4, 1.2, or 1 1/4 liters a minute, supposedly. And I'm thinking that thing's going to be rating right around there somewhere. This might be putting out, I think it's putting out more than 1/2 liter a minute. But you know, you could dump some more to this. You know, I got to figure out, like when I clean it out the next time, and you know, wash it all out and dump the tank and flush it out and stuff. I'm going to figure out how much lye to put in there. That'll give me maybe like 3 amps or something like that, which is going to be a guesstimate, but it'll lower the amount of hydrogen coming out of it, but it'll still be a strong enough amount to do you good. And it's a cheap way to get away with it. Now, next year I'll probably buy a professionally made unit. I was thinking more along the lines made by Hydrogen for Health, because this unit by George Wiseman, this is basically the same size. It's way lighter than this thing. I guarantee that. But I'd rather have one that's like 6 pounds or 7 pounds, like the one that Delvis 11 on YouTube makes. And even though it doesn't put out a lot of hydrogen, HHO, it's good enough for breathing. And the thing is, if I can carry it someplace with me, use it 5 or 10 minutes here, 5 or 10 minutes there, that all adds up. The portability is a major plus with that one unit. But then, by next year, I don't even know. Maybe they're going to have, because if you don't make, see these plates, these are made out of stainless steel, 316, high quality stainless steel. They got units that are made out of titanium. Now, they're hundreds of dollars more, but, if you're talking, I think the smaller unit by Hydrogen for Health is like $14.45 or something. So say it costs another $300 because it's titanium in there, the titanium plates. Well, in that case, your service life on that is going to be, I don't know. I mean, he talks like 200. I know the thing would probably last way more. With 3 grams of lye, that thing runs at 3 grams of lye. That thing could easily probably go way past that 200 maintenance level, 200-hour maintenance level. I was pretty impressed by that one machine. His cheaper machine is the better one to get. The more expensive one that does pure hydrogen and pure oxygen, that's got a membrane in it. And with that membrane, that's not going to give you the electrified plasma water. Now, the big advantage of the George Wiseman machine is you can run this damn thing 20 hours a day, no problem. This thing, this is not his machine. This is what I'm pretty sure this is what it starts out as, but he's got a lot of features in it, and safety features, which are important. I don't think the way I'm using this with some common sense, backing down the electrolyte, the extra bubbler, just watching what the hell I'm doing, watching the levels, changing out to distill the water often, maintaining it, not putting too much electrolyte in it. That's making me more safe than the average person that would use this. I wouldn't want it, but if the average person wanted to use this for just bubbling water, for the bath water, topical application, or just not breathing the gas directly, but breathing the gas coming right off of here, like about an inch away, coming off of that, you're not going to get too much hydrogen that way. That's that's just a given. I mean, for crying out loud. And now it looks like this glue sealed up better. The glue is still wet. I mean, see, it's bubbling up pretty good. Real redneck way. And actually, on the end of this hose, I cut it at an angle to feed it through there, and also that it wouldn't block anything where it gets stuck on the edge there, and I cut an angle cut on the end of the hose too. So it works good, man. You can run this damn thing forever. So cheap, works, redneck style. I mean, whatever, ain't nothing wrong with it, right? Good to go, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, over and out. And if you want to put, I'm going to put this video up on BitChute. If you want to put $2 or $3 in that PayPal thing, I mean, I feel stupid asking for some money. It's stupid, but if I save you money on something, I think I'm giving you a valuable service, But the caveat is, this is definitely not as safe as buying a professionally made machine. Like I said, if you're backing down the electrolyte, say you're running this like at 3 amps, and as you run this machine longer and longer, the hydrogen output goes higher and higher. That's why I'm kind of questioning, like, how the hell is the George Wiseman machine, when he puts it at, say you put it at 40%, how the hell does that stay at 40%? Like, in other words, if you put it at 40%, and you're starting out, because these things, as they heat up, they produce more hydrogen. So how does it stay at 40%, like, you know, when you're running it at the 5 hours later and you still got it on? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how he's doing that. Is he just doing it with a current limiter or something? I don't know. I mean, I don't see how it could stay that exactly, how they can actually regulate that hydrogen output. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But I'm doing it kind of a, you know, it's one of those methods. I do a lot of things. I mean, it's not really, it works about the same way for a hell of a lot less money. So what I got to find out is the next time I clean this thing out, I'm going to pay very careful attention to how much lye I put in there to just give it just enough where you're getting just enough hydrogen, HHO, where you're not, you know, which would make it relatively more safe. So I did dump out a bunch of the tank and add distilled water, because this thing was running up here before. Now it's running down there, you know. So it's nowhere near the 1 1/4 liters a minute that it supposedly can do. And that's a Chinese rating, so I don't know if, you know, when they tell you 75 liters an hour, maybe you're lucky if it gets 60 liters an hour, you know? I mean, you know, I mean, it's not that it's a bad product, but I mean, you know, the Chinese, you know, you ever look at the Chinese MIG welders? I mean, I got a 140 from China, Northern Tool, and I got the Miller 125. The Miller 125 could outdo that Chinese 141 easily. It's like, you know, so I mean, maybe this isn't really, you know, if you're backing this thing might be putting out, I'm guessing, it might be putting out a half a liter a minute. I don't think that's really, really high production. You're seeing a lot of bubbles, but you got to remember that's an 1/8 inch diameter hose. This thing is producing a lot of bubbles with a 3/8 diameter hose, which is, I don't know, volume-wise, what is it, 9 times more? It's not like 3 times more. It's like something like over 9 times, 10 times more. So sometimes the bubbles will, you know, if you're seeing a lot of bubbles, but if they're little bubbles, that doesn't, you know, and you see these great big bubbles, sometimes that one, and they're going slower, that one with the great big bubbles might actually be producing a lot more. This thing is producing way more, even when I brought it down twice. I brought the electrolyte and diluted the electrolyte level twice. I think when I first set it up, I actually had it run in a bathtub, and I popped the 30 amp fuse after a while. I mean, I was producing 240 liters an hour, like 4 liters a minute. That's why when I used that, I took a bath for like 2.5 hours with this HHO water. I was doing it last night too. But when the first time I had it really high up, the charge way up there with the electrolyte, I tell you, man, I felt like, holy smokes, man. I don't know, it was a weird feeling. Like I got hydrogen to the max all through your skin and everything, and I was like, to tell you the truth, I think the bath water way of doing this is probably, it might be the most effective way. I think the bath water, the hydrogen bath, like you can actually take, you'll see even on the internet, you can see there's got hydrogen peroxide, food grade hydrogen peroxide baths. You can do that. But this is, you know, better. But, you know, if you use something like this for the bath water, make sure that this unit is away from the bathtub and it's plugged into a power interrupted protected socket, like designed where, you know, if something gets wet, like the ones you usually see in the bathrooms in the kitchens, like if you plug your hair dryer into it or a shaver or something, you know, if there's a short, it pops right away without blowing a fuse in a house. It's like a power interrupted circuit. You want to have that plugged into that. And but you know, as this is set up, this would work good for, you know, charging up the bath water. And I can almost be certain that the hydrogen baths are way more powerful than just drinking the water. But you can use it for drinking the water, topical application in the baths, and you know, if you're breathing the gas off the top of this, you should be okay with that. If you can measure how much is coming out of here, and you know, figure it for your lung size, then you know, and you know, measure, you know, have an exact amount of electrolyte, and keep this full after you figure the exact amount of electrolyte. Yeah, I guess you would be able to breathe the gas in relative safety that way too. But then again, this doesn't have you know, an extra, you know, it's got a pressure relief, but it doesn't have an automatic shut-off with the pressure relief. It still wouldn't be as safe as the George Wiseman machine, but, you know, I look at it like this. You know, would I be afraid to drive a 1953 Chevy with manual steering, manual brakes, no seat belts, bias-ply tires, and, I don't know, no ABS brakes or nothing? Yeah, sure, I could drive it, because that's what we used to drive all the time. The early 60s cars were all like that, too. I wouldn't be afraid to do that. That's kind of like what I'm thinking that's what I'm comparing this to. One thing, I'm quite well aware of how explosive this gas is. It is very explosive. But also realize that, you know, I've been driving around my Suzuki with this thing under my, something like this, under, you know, this technology under the hood of the engine. And that carburetor has backfired. Because it's a manual choke, and if you lean it out too much, it goes, pow! I've never had a hydrogen explosion. Now, so, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to tell somebody to do something risky, but, you know, if you want to be on the safe side, just bubble the water, bubble the bath water, do topical applications, and if you breathe it, just breathe it off about an inch away from this. You know, you're still getting hydrogen. That'll be about the safest way you can do it. And this thing is relatively safe compared. This is definitely a lot safer than this thing I made. Oh, hands down. So I might, you know, I might just use this only, and then this probably will go in the El Camino. So very simple, nothing complicated here. Low bucks. That's the way I'm going to do it. I'm figuring by next year they're going to have titanium cells, probably titanium dry cells in these units. They're going to be probably no maintenance in them for, I don't know, 1,000 hours. That's the main tank. They'll be running so clean that even the bubbler scrubbers, you probably can get 50 or 100 hours out of them instead of like 10, 15 hours. Because, like, I mean, the unit by Delvis, I mean, I'm 3 grams a lye. I'm like, holy smokes, man, he's got a very efficient cell running in that damn thing. I know the limiting factor of that is that it'll start getting hot after 4 hours, and it kind of like goes in off-on mode. But crap, I never even freaking used this damn thing 4 hours yet. I mean, I didn't even use it an hour. I think the most I ever used it in a row was an hour in a row. So even if I used it for 4 hours in a day, it'd probably be an hour, 2 hours, and 1 hour. So his unit would work great. But I'm thinking by next year, they might have, you know, because I know they already got titanium cells. If they have the titanium cell, yeah, I mean, the maintenance requirement on the thing is going to be like almost nothing. I mean, the only thing you're going to have to do is add water once in a while. That thing's going to run so damn clean. If you have a really efficient titanium cell, this thing's going to run so damn clean. I don't know what I mean, I don't even know if you'd even have to ever drain the tank. Maybe the first time, you maybe run it a couple hundred hours, you drain it one time, and then just get some of the impurities out of there, because titanium plates, man, they'll freaking run super clean. And, you know, that means you're not going to get crap in a bubbler either. Because the dirty stuff that's in the HHO is coming off the oxygen side. That's where it's coming off of. It's not coming off the hydrogen side. The dirt, the contaminants comes off the oxygen side. It's like oxidation, get it right? So, you know, titanium plates, you know, so maybe next year, maybe somebody's going to be producing one with titanium, you know, dry cell inside of it. Stupid thing's going to last like, it's going to be easy as crap to use. And then maybe I'll buy it. You know, maybe a unit that the whole thing only weighs 8 pounds, even with the bubblers and everything filled up. You just carry it around with a carrying handle. Shit, so I'd buy that. Because like I said, every time you turn around, this stuff, they outdate it. There's something better. That's what pisses me off about technology. It's like every freaking 2 seconds they're coming out with something better. And it's like, why do I buy this? I already bought it, it's outdated. You know? So I got something that's going to work, though. And I'll be drinking this water right now, and you notice that thing's sealed up. Because that glue dries up after about 12 hours. It's starting to dry already. Just notice it's all sealed up. Real redneck repair, works perfect. You notice my paracord holds this in nice and tight, so I could still pick it up. I got a double handle here, and I got a paracord holding that in. I got a little see this here. That's a zip tie. You can tighten it up against that. You slide. If you want to pull it out, you pull this back. You do this. See that? See how smart I am with redneck stuff? See that? So, if I say, you know, I'm just going to say, if you do this, be careful. Be careful. Do not take this, you know, I'm talking like kind of flippantly calm and stuff. This stuff is dangerous. You got to watch what you're doing. If I put a match right here, this thing's going to go be popping like crazy. Just even these bubbles. And you don't want to pop it through the hose, so it'll go back to there. But, you know, be careful with this. You can get by dirt cheap. You know, that's what I'm doing. Until they come out with something better. Then I might buy the professional unit. But then again, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. Who knows? So if you want to put $2 in a PayPal and BitChute, fine. You know, don't. I mean, it's not. I mean, I'm just figuring I'd save you some bucks here, because that's what I'm doing for me. I'm saving me money. I want to turn this back on again. Actually, I forgot. See the production going again, quick. This is a large ozone machine stone. It's actually for ozone. So, see the bubbles? I got a bigger stone because I found the smaller stones, it's just too small. They actually, you're not getting as many bubbles out of it. So, I don't know, whatever. And also, if the stone gets, it shouldn't get dirty. It shouldn't get dirty with HHO. But if it does, you want to put it in boiled water and just boil it out. You know, so in other words, that'll clean it up. But yeah, see all the bubbles now? So that should make the hydrogen water a lot faster. And this is easy to, so there's distilled water in here up to about here. Distilled water in here. So that's 2 bubblers. I don't think I need to have 3. And you know, if you're changing out the bubbled water, the scrubber bubblers every 10 hours, you should be fine. And I do have a distilled water machine from years ago. It broke so many times. The last time it broke, it needs a switch or something. You know what? It's easier to buy the damn distilled water. I think it's 99 cents or $1.19 for a gallon. And you're using, that's total 16 ounces. You might put 14, 15 ounces in it. You might be putting 6 ounces in that. So you can fill these bubblers up a bunch of times for, you know, out of a gallon, right? What is that? 16 and 6, 24 ounces. So it's less than a quart. So for maybe, you can fill them up maybe 6 times out of a gallon of water. And then when you fill up this thing, it's only like 1.5 liters or something like that. I think that's all it is, 1.5 quarts, something around there, you know, 1.1 quart to a liter, something like that. It's not that much. So it's going to only cost you, and the lye doesn't cost 100% pure lye is what you put for the catalyst. Tomorrow we're going to find out, we'll try to get a good estimate as to how much lye to put in here. So this thing's only pulling like 2 or 3 amps, which would, you know, be strong enough for therapeutic value, yet that would be, I don't know if it would be safe, but it would be safer than higher production. That's one way around, you know, having so many safety features. The next time I do this and put, you know, actually, like I said, I drained this one time, partly, and I put distilled water in it because it was pulling like amps down up in here someplace. And then now it's, as you use this, it pulls more amps and it puts more production. So I don't know how you can actually limit this, even with an electrical switch that limited the power to the unit. Like if you put it on 40% production, I mean, after a while, wouldn't it start going up to higher and higher and higher? Because as the unit heats up, it puts out more production, even with the same amount of electricity going into it. That's just how these things work. So I don't think any of them are really 100% safe. You know what I mean? Probably the safest one is that one made by Hydrogen for Health Delvis, but then that one doesn't put out, the reason it's safer because it doesn't put out really high amounts of hydrogen. It puts out enough. So I mean, one way to do this, I guess, is if you figure out where it has enough to be therapeutic, but it's low enough to be safer, because these things are never 100% safe. In other words, find out that exact electrolyte amount that you have to put in there when you have to scrub the tank out. And then, you know, as this goes down, then electrolyte solution is going to get more concentrated. So keep it near or right at the full level and don't overfill it. This thing, when you start filling it up, it takes a long time to get down to here, you know, before it actually shows up. Then to go from here to here, it's not that much water. It's like deceptive, you know. So that's how that thing works. And like the one where George Wiseman has it, this is all lit up. This has a low level alarm, an automatic shut off. I mean, this thing you better watch what you're doing if you're doing it this way. But I'm getting, you know, I got enough common sense to freaking figure this out. I mean, I'm not going to have a problem with this. I don't know. I might not ever upgrade this damn thing. I mean, if this thing just freaking works for me, fine. I don't care. I'm getting to buy cheap. You know? It's 125 bucks. The stone might cost you 10. Those things, I got a whole bunch of them. I mean, I don't know, maybe that was like 20 bucks. That little freaking thing on there was like 10 bucks. That little plastic thing that goes in here with the little nipple, so you can put the cannula on there. Those things are rip-off, you know what I mean? So 10, 20, 30, 40, I don't know. So maybe it's 175 max, all this put together with all the crap on it, you know? Total price. That sounds good. And at the least, I mean, you can still, I mean, I got another 25 feet of this hose, and with the ball on it, you know, with this thing on here, so you can run this, you know, maybe 6 feet away from this, and then have it run into the bathtub with that bubbler on it, let it bubble in there for a few hours, and then when you're taking a bath for an hour or something, you're going to get all that hydrogen in you through the skin. For this much money, and if this is plugged into a power interrupted protected socket, just like the stuff like you have in your bathroom where you have those special power interrupted sockets, like when you're using your electric shaver or you're using your hair dryer or whatever, you know, that you don't get electrocuted if the water splashes on something. That's what you want to have this plugged into. You don't want to have it plugged into a regular wall socket if you're using it in the bathroom. And you also want to have this far enough away from the bathtub. And that's why you would use maybe a 6-foot little hose like that, you know. Still, it don't have every safety feature. It's got a pressure relief valve, but it doesn't have automatic shutoff and an alarm to pressure relief. That's what, see, George Wiseman's adding a lot of safety features. He's adding that frequency thing to it too. That frequency thing, that's a big deal, man. That is a big deal. And the adjustability of production could be, I'm not sure how well that, I'm not sure how that works, like I said, because as the unit heats up, I mean, if you limited the electricity going to it, and that's how you got your 40%, well, as the unit heats up, it's going to still produce more. So I'm not sure, you know, still that's a good safety feature. Nothing's 100% perfect with this damn thing. Well, you know what? Nothing's 100% perfect when you're filling up your gas tank in your car. You're using your lawnmower. You're using your pruning saw. You're using an electric chainsaw or a circular saw, or I don't know, you're getting under a car and doing something on the brakes or something, or changing the oil. Nothing's 100% safe. Nothing. But do remember, this gas is more explosive than you think. I know it's from water, but you know, when they're talking about water, cars run on water, what's running on is gas. That's what it is. It comes from water, but it's not exactly water it's running on. And, you know, I should say a little bit about that. This thing is not really making the engine work on a car because it's a fuel. What it is, it's actually breaking down the existing gas better, making it a more complete burn. And so you're getting more energy out of the same existing gas. That's why this thing works pretty good when you add it to your existing fuel mixture in the car. Now, it works a lot better with carbureted cars, or if you use a car that is, has the computer with the O2 sensor and senses how much oxygen, which the way to get around all electronics and without getting real fancy is you only put the hydrogen in it. So they got things that you can actually, they even have kits that only produce hydrogen out one side and oxygen out the other side, and you would only pump the hydrogen into the engine. So that's what this is actually designed for, an engine. This actually produces HHO. But if you put this in a car that was computer controlled car with an O2 sensor, without freaking messing with the electronics on a car, the simplest way to make it work fine is to get another device on top of this that splits the hydrogen and oxygen, and you only feed the hydrogen into the intake. This way it doesn't affect the O2 sensor by adding extra oxygen. Now this car's got a carburetor on it, this El Camino, so I might just put it in there like that. I mean, I'm not going to do it right away because let me see how this thing works out for me, you know. You can see, you know, that thing's sealed up, my little shoe goose sealed up real good. I mean, that stuff will get hard as a rock, and that stuff seals like a rock, man. So, might be a slight leak around here. I might put a little more of it around here. And there's a little leak. Slight, very slight. Gonna put a little more around here. Let it dry overnight. But it's sealed up pretty good. I mean, I just threw this together right now. But it shows you how easy it is. Here's power cord, right? Here's a zip tie. You can go in and out. So that locks it in place. So this stays on here pretty good. That's where you fill it up. As this level goes down a little bit, just distilled water. That's distilled water, that's distilled water. This is just well water. I don't need freaking distilled water to drink, man. I mean, I could, but it don't need to be. And if you spill electrolyte on it, it's going to screw up the freaking paint, but I don't really give a crap. I mean, I might paint it Chevy orange or something later. Engine paint or something, so I don't know. Don't matter to me as long as it works, man. This is kicking ass, man, for freaking the money. Look at that. For the money, this thing kicks ass. You figure this would make the water, even just for water production, this is a lot better than those freaking stupid pitchers that make hydrogen water, because this is HHO water. This is electrically expanded water too. This is better than plain hydrogen water, and this is going to produce a lot more water. I mean, you have to put this in a gallon thing, let it sit there about 45 minutes, and it'll do the job. Unlike, you know, these pitch, you know, because you got these little containers that make hydrogen water, which isn't as good as this. They cost you 65, 70, 80 bucks or more. And then they got the ones with the pitcher, they can cost 100, 200 bucks. About what this thing costs completely. And this thing, I mean, you can make a 5-gallon thing of freaking hydrogen HHO water with this, no problem. It might take you, that would take you probably a few hours, but you could do it. You ain't gonna do that with something else. So I mean, just for making water alone, this thing is worth it. But it's got the topical application, the bath water, and you know, like I said, if you're not gonna breathe through the cannula, just if you breathe like about right over here, you put your nose right about here, you're not in a danger then. I mean, that's going to be really, you're not going to get too much down in your lungs where you're going to have a problem, because this dissipates real quick, but you're still going to get some. So you can breathe this right with your nose on this for 10 minutes while this is doing this, and you got, you know, because you get a lot more of the hydrogen and electrically expanded plasma water in the lungs than you do by drinking it. You want to do both. But what I read, I guess this is from George Wiseman again, I think it's 12 seconds of breathing the hydrogen HHO gas is like drinking a whole quart of water. 12 seconds. And he got most of his health benefits from breathing this stuff. But there's certain things that do not you have to drink the water. They only work with the water. I'm assuming it has to do with digestive problems, stuff in the intestines, I would assume, like that. You know, stomach problems, ulcers, I would guess. You know, I don't know. But, you know, certain things work best with the water, certain things only work with the water, but most of the health benefits come from breathing with the gas. And again, I'm going to try to find out tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Sunday, how much electrolyte to put on here where I can pretty much give a ballpark estimate where you might be in a safe level or right around a safe level for breathing. But the only way you're going to know that is if you actually test it with a volume thing, and then you say, I'm running this for 30 minutes and it's full, and we'll test how much is coming out of it. So if it's coming out, say, I don't know, 1/4 of a liter a minute, that should be safe for most. That should be safe for most adult people, you know, for breathing. And that's one way to get around this real cheap. But then every time you you know, change out your electrolyte stuff, and you flush this all out, you got to use that exact same electrolyte that made it where it did like 1/4 of a liter a minute. So that would be, you know, God, it would be 15 liters an hour or something, or whatever. Maybe a little higher than that. I don't know. I got to look at it what the specs were again, but you know, I'll try to find out, and also I'll find out. You know, I'll see what the amperage is. I'd expect that to be on the safe level, you'd probably be pulling only like 2 or 3 amps down there, not this high. Like this thing was pulling way the hell up here when I first started it up. So, you know, there's a way you could probably get it to run pretty safe, fairly safe, and you know, get by cheap. But you know, to tell you the truth, I don't think any of these units are 100% safe. I don't think any of them are. You got to use your common sense. Keep this away from sparks. Keep it away from static electricity, open flame, cigarettes, the whole 9 yards. You know, because I don't think there's actually. I don't know what way. You know, that would probably be major corporations, but they're not ever going to adopt this technology because, first off, just for cosmetology, skin problems alone, just that, you know, reducing scars, wrinkles, moles, warts, age spots, whatever, psoriasis, blemishes, whatever. Just reducing like all those skin problems, which this can do by just hydrating the body better. That alone is going to freaking make this thing go right off the freaking shelves once people figure it out. Women are going to be buying these things left and right. And then they're going to notice all the other health benefits. And then the word's going to get out. But, you know, you got to... This could not only freaking threaten the cosmetology industry, or whatever you would call it, you know. Instead of putting makeup on, why don't you make your skin better, right? I mean, that's what's going to happen. But if it makes you more healthy and more energetic, this thing is going to take off like a rocket. I mean, even if it just makes you more energetic. But then people start figuring out, oh, this is making me look younger, this is making me more energetic, and all of a sudden they realize, you know, this medical issue is diminished or went away. The word's going to get out. And the money powers, I'm going to tell you, this is not the first thing that's been out there that's had a lot of healing effects. I mean, I could talk about iodine. You ever hear about, you ever go to a doctor today and they tell you they're going to give you iodine for ailments? Used to do that left and right, even back in the 1860s. It works. So, you know, the vitamin C, intravenous vitamin C, has been known to work against a lot of ailments since Dr. Frederick Kleiner was using it in the 1940s. Works against pretty much anything. So just the fact that this works doesn't mean it's going to get out there. But what I'm thinking is, see, in the case of like vitamin C can help your collagen, help your wrinkles, yeah, possibly. But this thing seems to really help with your wrinkles and your age spots and your warts and your freaking whatever problems, psoriasis, dry skin, you know, crow's whatever you call those things on the side of your eyes, whatever, crow's feet, whatever you call those things, sagging chin, whatever, man, cracked lips, you know, all this stuff. It seems like super hydrate. It does. It super hydrates the cells because it's got the electrically expanded water. If people are going to use this, if they get good results inside of a few months on their looks, women are going to use it, and then you're going to figure out, oh, I feel better, or this problem went away. I used to have, I don't know, I'm not going to mention any ailments, but they used to have this ailment, that ailment. They don't have it anymore. I think this is one that they're going to have a hard time keeping a lid on, because it's going to make, but you know what? If one person blows themselves up with this damn thing, that'll put a lid on it. That'll put a lid on it. You know that? So what I'm telling you here is not the safest way to do it, but it's the way I'm doing it. And I got enough common sense that, you know, you can see right now, like you said, if you're just bubbling water or bubbling bath water, you know, that's pretty damn safe as long as you're keeping away from sparks and stuff like that, because it's not going down in your lungs. But you got to really breathe the gas to get most of the benefits out of it, and including the skin benefits. So, like I said, you can breathe it off the top of this. You know, you get some that way. And we'll be putting more updates on this where I can figure it out, where you can make this cheap thing safer than it is stock out of the box. But just this alone, when you have this, this has got 2/3 water in it, that's like insulating a spark from here through into the unit. This is insulating. This is like keeping this spark that has to go through that, which it won't, to get to this. So that makes it a little safer. It's a small hose with an 1/8 inch ID, so there's not a lot of gas coming out of it real fast. So there's not a lot of gas physically in the hose itself. You know what I mean? So, you know, I personally don't think it's that unsafe. I just know that one little spark can make it go off. I know that. But like I said, I've had it in my engine on my Suzuki for like 4 or 5 years with the carburetor backfiring when I have it too lean, when I'm starting it up with the manual choke, and I never had an HHO explosion. So I mean, when it happens, it's going to surprise you. It's almost like, I almost look at this as like, think of gun safety. You know, you don't want to screw up even once, right? You don't even want to screw up one time. So, you know, we'll find out. I'll find out what the level of electrolyte will seem to be. What I'm going to see to be is probably a much safer level, and not 100% safe, but safer than this. But for the money, if you're careful, and I'm getting by cheap with this damn thing. I'm really glad I got it.